Hello, I'm Congressman Brad Wenstrup, and for those of you who don't know me, I've had the honor of representing Ohio's 2nd District since 2012, representing most of Southern Ohio. I'm retiring at the end of this term, my 6th term, and I'll move on and see what lies ahead. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today virtually. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there in person. So a little background. I served in the United States Army Reserve for 25 years. I'm a veteran of the Iraq War, and I served as Chief of Surgery for the 344th Combat Support Hospital at Abu Ghraib Prison in Iraq. In Congress, I serve on the House Ways and Means Committee and the Intelligence Committee, and I'm also the chairman of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, looking back on everything to do with the pandemic and what may lie ahead. From 2013 to 2018, I served on the House Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committees. Throughout my career here, I worked on military medical issues extensively. When I became a member of Congress and came to Washington, the Army Reserves assigned me to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where I served throughout most of my career here in the operating room. When I made the rank of colonel, I also added an administrative position as medical policy advisor to the Chief of the Army Reserve. So given my background as a physician, the COVID pandemic was eye-opening to me because of what we saw in real time regarding our nation's preparedness, or lack thereof. My role as chairman of the subcommittee is to get to the bottom of what happened in COVID, what went right, what went wrong, and what our strengths and our weaknesses are. We're looking back and especially ahead so that we can better prepare our country for future health emergencies, especially those of pandemic proportions. The pandemic particularly highlighted the benefit of cooperation and collaboration between all of our military and civilian healthcare centers, and that is what I'd like to spend some time focusing on in my remarks today. Because I believe we should optimize joint readiness and health care for beneficiaries by creating a Joint Defense Health Command. Congress mandated the creation of the Defense Health Agency in 2013 with the intention of creating a medically ready force and providing efficient, effective beneficiary care. Since that time, we have seen in certain areas the need for greater clarity, flexibility, and opportunity in both command structure and responsibility at all levels of our military health system. I've been a strong proponent of the creation of a specified Joint Defense Health Command with a defined structure that provides clear authorities and responsibilities. A Joint Defense Health Command would grant order, authority to the military medical officer in command, and allow appropriate personnel flexibility, including permitting the delegation of leadership to someone experienced, uniformed or civilian, in managing large healthcare systems such as we have in our non-war zone facilities. It would also allow the services to meet their unique needs and control their medical readiness and integration, including through more training opportunities and military-civilian partnerships. Programs like Strategic Medical Asset Readiness Training, or what we call Operation SMART. It's a great example of military and civilian cooperation. What we did with Operation SMART was provide opportunities for low-density military occupational specialties, such as radiology techs, OR techs, pharmacy techs, medics, dental techs, lab techs, behavioral health, and administrative staff can all receive intensive training in civilian hospitals. So while this program was started on the reserve side, we found a greater need for active duty within the program. And let me give you an example. When we presented this opportunity in Cincinnati, every hospital in Cincinnati wanted to be part of it. And we were able to assign people to all of the various hospitals depending on the strength of the hospital. And I'll give you an example of a medic from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, active duty, who spent 2 weeks at the University of Cincinnati. On his after-action review, he said, "I did more in 2 weeks in Cincinnati than I've done in 6 years at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base." And if you think about it, on most of our military bases, we have mostly healthy people, and the speed limit's 15. There's not a whole lot of trauma. We want to be ready when there is, but at the same time, it's not the same as the operational environment. So we see opportunities with Operation SMART, which unfortunately got stopped during COVID. I would hope to see that come back. The Army led on that, and I think we should continue to do that. We've also done other things during COVID, such as logistics. The military really led the way on that as far as our efforts with dispersing vaccines, etc. We saw our National Guard going out doing testing and vaccinations. So the collaboration between civilian and military healthcare workers and institutions keeps our military ready, sharp, and they keep our nation strong. And I think we need to keep focusing on that when it comes to military medicine and the opportunities that are out there in the civilian sector. The fact is very evident in the long-standing military and civilian collaboration that we see with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in my home state of Ohio, and the University of Cincinnati's collaboration to develop, for example, a state-of-the-art simulation center for the Critical Care Air Transport Team, or CCAT team. During my time as a surgeon in Iraq, it was the CCAT teams that ensured that the work we did in theater was completed at our bases in Germany and stateside, saving the lives of so many service members. This is a flying ICU. Many of you are probably very familiar with it. The University of Cincinnati Medical Center also houses one of only 3 centers for the sustainment of trauma and readiness skills, or the CSTARS program. People are selected by the U.S. Air Force. And in Cincinnati, it's such a center to focus on air evacuation of critically injured patients, but also has a strong partnership with our military medical community. And I'm proud to have both trained at CSTARS and shown it off to my colleagues in Congress. The CSTARS program is incredibly important as it trains personnel to be members of the Critical Care Air Transport Team program. And each of these comprise physician trained in critical care nurse, and a respiratory therapist in-house. The Air Force CCAT program has also taken on an increasing role in training civilian emergency situations, due in part to its ability to provide advanced critical care during patient transport. Lessons learned. We see so often where the military is leading the way to what comes transformed into our medical system here at home. Another partnership exists with leading trauma centers across the nation, as is done in the U.S. Army. The Army has the Military Civilian Trauma Training Team program. It gives service members medical training opportunities so they have the tools and training they need to help protect our nation and provide world-class care in both peacetime and wartime. It's important we look to civilian-military partnerships as we level up and build out critical readiness. This readiness will allow us to provide for the health and critical care needs of next generation and for future pandemics. Also, we have to be worried about overwhelming injury or overwhelming illness, not just trauma, as we know it. Whether civilian or military, we need to be ready for this to happen and be able to respond. I look at entities that we have, such as Brooke Army Medical Center, where the military is providing trauma care for the civilians. Well, there's an opportunity for so many of our military personnel to get the repetitions they need to be ready to go into theater at a high pace. I look at places that there may be opportunity, such as Centro Medico in San Juan, Puerto Rico. It is the only level 1 trauma center for that region. And I think it's an opportunity for us to take some of our military personnel to spend time there and provide care, whether it's in the ICU, whether it's trauma surgery, similar to what we do with the CSTARS program. These are opportunities that can provide care, opportunity, training for both our military and provide for our civilian sector. But overall, we have to ensure that when we respond to another pandemic or health threat, we can appropriately mobilize our robust resources and tools to be able to respond. Since I joined the Intelligence Committee in 2015, I've been keenly worried about our adversaries' capabilities, especially to develop biotechnologies and bioweapons that directly threaten the American people and certainly our way of life. COVID has proven how our way of life can be affected. Countries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and even foreign terrorist organizations, to varying degrees, they harness new, innovative technologies to shape the future of the battlefield to their liking. Our response must be multifaceted, and we need to start now. I sponsor the BioSecure Act. I'm leading on this bill as passed the House with bipartisan support. Take steps to make sure that our biotechnology infrastructure is protected and not beholden to any foreign adversaries. It also attempts to secure Americans' personal health data and make sure it's protected and not harvested and misused by malign actors. The Chinese Communist Party has their national security laws that require all Chinese firms to share any requested data with the CCP, including biotechnology companies that collect, test, and store American genomic data. Beijing Genomics Institute, a company in the People's Republic of China, has collected DNA from millions around the world and used that data without consent on genomic projects conducted by the Chinese military. By ending federal contracting with companies of concern and by prohibiting federal contracting with any company that contracts with or uses equipment and services from the companies of concern, the BioSecure Act is the next step towards protecting our nation's healthcare system and towards American independence from Chinese biotech and pharmaceutical companies that are CCP collaborators. This is the real deal. I can't stress enough how important it is that we protect American patients, hospital systems, and the U.S. biotechnology industry from foreign exploitation by malign actors and adversaries like China. We need to be ready when it comes to caregiving. On all fronts, we need to have readiness in our manufacturing. We need to have a supply chain that is ready, protective equipment. We need to be ready in countermeasures. I had the opportunity in uniform to spend time with the Defense Logistics Medical Supply Chain Council, where we looked at all of the pharmaceuticals that we use and where we get them and who owns the company, all the way down to the active pharmaceutical ingredients to measure our risk. We have to do all we can to shore up the security of our critical infrastructure, such as pharmaceuticals. It's highly important. China controls that right now. But across all of our infrastructure, I consider our health security to be one of the most important that we can focus on, not only for our troops, but for the entire country. So I say we need to do these things. We need to do this. We need to do that. Some of that requires the government to take action, to get rid of some regulations that get in the way from us to be able to do things domestically. If we can't do things domestically in the areas of national security and health, then at least do them with our allies and not our adversaries. We have to ensure that we have a robust, thought out, and multifaceted response before we face another health threat. Military medicine can lead the way, but we need our civilian and government partners. I want to thank you for taking the time to invite me to speak with you virtually today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to working with you, even beyond my time in Congress if I can. God bless.